I finally get to relax and I don't have to wear a jacket to hide my fatness because I'm not doing a review until Halloween. What the hell are you doing here? Oh, god damn it!
The mob, the family, the crime syndicates of Sicily, the Mafia. If these words don't inspire you to pick up a Chicago typewriter and spell your name in bullet holes, then you'd be lying if you said you weren't scared of those words. And yet so few video games manage to capture the criminal underworld quite like Mafia 2. I'm gonna get straight to the point. Mafia 2 is easily the best gangster story in video gaming, and if it's not the most entertaining, then it can't be denied that it's one of the most realistic, or at least the most believable. You play Vito Scarlatta, one of the many Sicilian migrants who wanted to escape the hellhole that was his original hometown and came straight to Empire Bay, a hybrid of New York, Chicago, Boston, and, oh god, I don't know, Huddersfield. Anyway, it's set in the early mid-1900s, so it can't be blamed for copying the GTA games. I think one of Scarlatta's first lines in his narration sets the tone perfectly. The American dream was more like a nightmare, all words to those effect. The family's going downhill with a piss-poorly paying job, and most of that money goes to your father's gambling and drinking habits. So as a teen you decide to make friends with Joe Barbaro and make a nice little earner to merely survive in Empire Bay. When Vito's caught during a jewelry store robbery, he has two choices. He can either go to prison or join the army. It's the latter choice that kicks all of this off. During Operation Husky, you get a brief combat tutorial, which doesn't really help, but you'll understand why soon enough, and you also get wounded and sent home. And that's where the game begins, or at least I say begins, because this is an incredibly long and incredibly boring game. It begins in the sense that the tutorial's over, but it'll be a few hours before you actually do anything interesting. In fact, after liberating the old country, the first thing you do encapsulates perfectly what you'll do for the rest of the game. Drive.
And this isn't the kind of driving you'd expect from GTA, Saints Row, or the Godfather games. Oh no, this is some of the most sluggish, the most soul-sucking, the most heinously heinous driving you could ever hope to see in an open-world game. I mean, this is worse than playing Bubsy 3D. It's worse than Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, and you're damn right I'm not gonna let go of that. The driving in that was
I speak with no hyperbole either. The vast majority of the game is spent driving in this absolutely breathtaking and highly detailed open world, and I'm not just talking about if you need to go to a particular place. I mean every single mission has you drive somewhere and drive back home, and as far as I'm aware you can't ride in taxis, so you're royally screwed. In the bum. You'd think that with all the fucking driving you do, it'd be better tuned, but no, 2K decided to go with the realistic route instead and make it grindingly slow. The vehicles in both eras, and again we'll get round to this later in the video, are incredibly hard to control, and I will admit I don't really try to be a careful driver, but still I would be where the controls liquid fluent. Mafia 2 doesn't just stop with incredibly bad steering and braking, but with how the police react to your traffic violations. If you go over 40 miles per hour, then they'll want to fine you, the same as if you hit with any civilian vehicle. If you hit a pedestrian or police officer, then they'll want to arrest and or shoot to kill with either handguns or machine guns. It doesn't end there though, the police can continue to track you even when you evade them by putting up your wanted posters, and before I forget, other people's wanted posters are a neat collectible in this game. They can also find your vehicle by monitoring your number plates, so you have to go to the respective shops to change such things. I really don't have any complaints about it, especially when the police are hardly a threat, and I appreciate what the developers try to do, but much like a lot of the fine details, it's just a waste. The amount of vehicles, places to go, nooks and crannies, civilian animations, weather conditions and set dressing is astounding and blows the balls off a load of games immediately. I could understand if this game were a tech demo, but because it came out during the mid-Xbox 360 and PS3 generation, it's not as though it's really showing off much. Many don't owe Mafia 2 the grace of looking at all the effort that went into it though, and they do right considering there's little time to actually go out of your way to find it. Unlike other open world games, you don't get to choose who you do your missions for, which family you join, or if you want to see some big American titties with annoying cousin Roman. Every time you end a mission, you'll get a new one in the next chapter, and while you don't have to do it immediately, you still feel compelled to do so, because there's not much else to do. I mean, sure, you can go to a clothes store and buy different colours for 3 outfits, or you might want to tweak your vehicle insignificantly at a chop shop, but besides that, there's only missions left. There are odd jobs you can do, like selling vehicles for scrap or to be sold overseas, but unless you like working for peanuts, there's no point. And there's plenty of times in the game where you need to pay a debt or owe somebody money, so don't expect to hold onto your hard-earned cash for too long. The real money comes from the missions whether you like them or not, and as I said, they mostly consist of driving. If you're lucky, you'll be able to get into a fist fight with the rather weighty and visceral melee combat engine. Unfortunately, it's not as fluent or responsive as the Batman Arkham games, but it comes close nonetheless. It's real basic stuff, what with just having to throw light punches and hope you can get a heavy strike in, but there will be a time when you need to get in those counter punches. I know I'm not selling it very well, but neither does the game. If you're really lucky, you may get to enjoy the criminally underutilized gunfights where the plentiful array of weapons can actually come into play. Using some machine guns, handguns, shotguns and rifles has very rarely felt so good, as the detail on the weapons, animations and how much stopping power they have is incredible. You can expect to die a lot in these fights even on the medium difficulty setting, as you'll lose your health faster than it'll regenerate, and the checkpoints are far from forgiving. It's not until after Vito goes to prison, which isn't much of a spoiler, where the gunfights finally pick up. But by then you're about 6 hours into the game, if not more.
I got a crystal ball under my bed.
When Vito emerges from the can, Empire Bay takes on a radical transformation, changing almost entirely except for a large amount of buildings. The sun's always out, the cars are incredibly bright, the civilians are in fashionable attire, and there's not a single bad song on the radio. 1950s Empire Bay is where the game really shines. It's here where the cars have had some tweaks but not much noticeable, although there are some points where you get some super fast vehicles, but there's not much point to them if you're going to be busted for going over 40, and sadly you don't get to share in the fashion craze, meaning that you still look like a gangster from the Prohibition era. But the story kicks up a notch as the three families of Empire Bay, the Falcone, Vinci and Clemente, are struggling to make peace and outdo each other. The big business nowadays is drugs, as gambling, liquor and prostitution aren't booming like they used to. As Vito Corleone would say, or words to that effect. Again. Christ, I suck at quoting. You also get to see Joe's more human and mature side as he takes joining a family seriously. Not only that, but you can't help feel the obnoxiously racist Barbaro's pain when one of his best friends, an apprentice, Marty, is killed. We'll probably talk more about him in the future with Joe's Adventures, one of the DLCs for the game.
No! Fuck! They shot him! He's dead, Vito!
Joe, come on. We gotta get out of here. You can't help him now. Clemente's getting away.
Let's go. I'm gonna kill that fuck.
And that's pretty much the gameplay covered, though I will elaborate more on exactly how I feel about it before we end this review. But before we do that, I want to tell you how I feel about the graphics and soundtrack. Not that you really need me to, I mean just look at how gorgeous this game is. Indeed, Mafia 2 is a stellar game when you don't get too close to some of the horrifying textures even on high settings. Everything from the clothing to cars, buildings to bullet damage is astounding, though the lip sync and a couple of animations could do with some work. What you have here is a game where the developers really outdid themselves. But I can't rate it too high when they made too much work. It's like the art team had a bigger budget than the guys who made the important stuff, like trying to make the game work in this huge ass world. Instead of tweaking vehicles to make exploration half decent, we instead get a couple of extra floors to the buildings we can enter. Whoop-de-doo. As for the soundtrack, you'll never hear a bad track considering it's from the time when music was good. Expect to hear some of my favourite genres like swing, jazz and blues, nearly all of which is licensed. You probably won't hear any of it though because of YouTube's copyright, so I may just replace it with Sonic music or something. Now what I did enjoy was the voice work, as there's hours of recorded lines from different characters, and not once was there a single time where I felt an NPC was flat or boring. It goes to show that good actors and good lines can make any character one you'll miss when they're gone.
Besides, I just wiped them off.
With what? The same fucking rag you used to clean the toilet, you filthy fuck?
Put a lid on them. What are you, from the health department, or you want to do some business?
As we drive excruciatingly slowly toward our next hit, it's time to give you the skinny on our next hit, my final thoughts.
I'd be lying if I said Mafia 2 was the perfect mobster game, because while it does have an amazing story and for that alone it's worth getting the game at full price, it's still a painfully boring game. In its attempts to make a gratifying, realistic and gritty gangland story, one with the most unnerving end to a game I've experienced, it forgets to be interesting when you're not with your fellow crims. The amount of driving as well as how grindingly slow it is makes the game forgettable, and it makes what few fights there are until the final 4 hours seem like heaven. It'd be nice, just once, if someone else could take the wheel. Hell, even being able to shoot while we get away would be nice. But no, it just wants to waste your time. And the combat's okay. I mean, it's certainly got punch, but I can't praise it all that well when the checkpoints are ridiculously far and few between. And God help you if you die on a driving section. Christ almighty. If you're looking for a serious gangster game that shows off an adult sense of humour, it's easy to recommend this game. For everyone else who's looking for interaction with the open world, decent driving, actual gang warfare, and fun combat, I'd point you to the Godfather games.
Until the next time, I'm Jobo, your number 2 wise guy for number 1 video game buys. And if you'll excuse me, it's about time I got out of this jacket, and next time, I'll be seeing you guys on Halloween. Ta-ta for now.